What I hear the government saying is the Build Back Better bill is going to result in so many jobs. Women are going to get more jobs. Minorities are going to get more jobs. That they're going to be like the newly minted Megyn Kelly lawyer, Esquire. And they're going to be running around producing and earning. And all of that earning, which then the government will tax and so on, is going to solve this problem. Why is that not true?
Well, first of all, politicians have been saying that for decades. I mean, it's not new. Politicians used to say that, today's deficit is a down payment on tomorrow's surplus. If we make the investments now, we'll grow the economy faster, and that's how we're going to reduce the debt. Well, we're $30 trillion in debt, or $29 trillion in debt. So none of these government promises of increased spending have ever resulted in less debt. It always increases the debt, which makes sense. The government is going to borrow more money and spend it. By definition, that's going to grow the debt. But to say that making government bigger is going to somehow lead to a more efficient, more productive economy is sheer nonsense. It's actually the reverse that is true. The smaller you make government, the more productive the economy. If the Build Back Better bill ends up redirecting resources away from the private sector to government, which is what it does, because resources aren't created out of thin air. Any resources that the government uses have to come at the expense of resources that the private sector no longer has access to. So to the extent that the government becomes bigger and more involved in the economy becomes less efficient and less productive. And so the deficits will get even larger than just what we get from spending the money, because it will reduce the economic output of the country and it will add to the inflationary pressures that already exist in the economy.
My gosh, this is so depressing. This is like the me graduating from law school with, instead at the time I had over $100,000 in debt and absolutely no money to my name. And but my very first job was $85,000 a year because I went for a white shoe law firm, which, trust me, back in 1995, even today it's good, but back in 1995, I was like, I am rich. I've gone from zero to rich. And this is like, that me doesn't have $100,000 in debt. That me's got $100 million in debt. And my $85,000 a year is a teaspoon in the ocean, and I'm not going to be able to tackle it. And there's another complication in that situation where I've got this third party working against me. In our nation's situation, it's government, sort of paddling the other way.
And a lot of these, Keynesian economists or MMTers, they think that government debt is irrelevant, because as long as the government can print money, they don't see the debt as a problem, because they say, well, the government will never run out of money because it can print as much as it wants. Well, the problem is if it prints too much, the money runs out of purchasing power. So what good is it if you can print a bunch of money that doesn't have any value? If you can't buy anything with the money, then the money, it doesn't matter that you can print an unlimited amount of it. And that is the risk that we have. All governments that take on too much debt end up destroying their currency. The only reason that we haven't destroyed ours yet is because we've been the reserve currency. So we've been able to abuse that privilege. We've been able to go deeper into debt without destroying our currency than any other country in the history of the world. But that doesn't mean that there's an unlimited amount of debt. We are going to find that breaking point. And I think that point is coming relatively soon.
So Glenn Beck was on the program about a month ago, and he was making some dire predictions, not totally dissimilar to this, and was saying at that point, once we've basically eliminated the value of our own currency, he predicted the government's going to do something radical, like your currency truly is no longer relevant. Your whatever you have in the bank, it's no longer relevant, and we're going to start reallocating our new currency based on identity or whatever the flavor of the day is. And all your savings, if you've been somebody who worked hard and put savings away in the bank versus somebody who hasn't worked at all and wants more of a socialistic system where you take from the workers and give to the non, we'll wind up winning the day because the value of our savings will have effectively been eliminated. What do you think of that?
Well, yeah, I think the government is going to wipe out savings. And of course, it's going to wipe out its own debt, because a lot of our savings are in government debt, and that's going to get wiped out with inflation. But it's not going to be a panacea. I mean, first of all, yeah, people are no longer going to have debt, right? You took out a big mortgage to buy a house, and now you don't really owe any money anymore because, the mortgage is wiped out through inflation. but our whole standard of living is going to implode because the world is not going to simply reaccept whatever our new money is as the reserve currency, right? That'll be over, right? We're not going to have that ace up our sleeves anymore. So how is the U.S. economy going to function without all those goods coming in from the rest of the world? I mean, you think there's a supply shortage now. You know, we have record trade deficits right now. So we have more foreign goods than ever flowing into the U.S., and it's still not enough because we don't produce anything ourselves. Imagine what happens when none of those foreign goods are coming in anymore. I mean, imagine going into a Walmart and staring at nothing but empty shelves. I mean, go in there and try to find the stuff that's made in America. You won't be able to do it. It'd be like a scavenger hunt. So when we no longer have the ability to buy all the stuff the world makes with the money that we print, that's the end of this economy. The whole thing implodes. And then where are we going to go? I mean, as I said, the only way out is to radically shrink government. Government needs to get smaller. Like the taxes, the regulations need to go away. But even then, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a long time to rebuild what the government took decades to destroy.